So last Friday we got the results of our face-to-face interviewing that we did in all over the country, but Johannesburg specifically. And we thought at that stage that the ANC should get 46% in Johannesburg, the DA 41%, and the EFF 8%, the three big parties. And there was some...
It appears to be relatively close to the results that are coming through now from the IEC. Not exactly, but relatively close.
I think it is within the margin of error. It's easy to remember that surveys are not an exact science because we don't speak to everybody in the country. And depending on how good your sampling is, you can say this is representative of the people in the country. I spoke to the guys at the CSIR this morning at the results center, and they were saying, or they have a model that they've built, and as soon as results come in, they feed it into the model and it comes up with the possible outcome. And the more results that they feed into the system, the more accurate and stable the modeling becomes. Currently, there's about a third of the votes counted in Johannesburg, and they're saying that in Johannesburg, the ANC should get about 45%. We said 46. We said the DA should get 41. They are saying the DA will get in the region of 39%. The 2% is also within the margin of error. And we said 8% for the EFF. Currently, they have the EFF on 11. So we will see, because especially on the small parties or smaller parties, there's still a lot of changes on the modelling as the time goes on.
A very interesting political space to be in right now, highly competitive in terms of the political contenders standing for election. Did we see a shift in sentiment?
We definitely saw a shift in sentiment, but this shift in sentiment wasn't like one big happening. It was a thing that came over time. If we look at some trends over, say, from 2009, when President Zuma became president, and we look at those over time, we can see the sentiment coming through. Especially we ask a question where we say to people, do you think the country is going in the right or in the wrong direction? Currently, on that particular question, if we look at the people who said that they were going to vote, half of them said that the country is going in the wrong direction. And they were quite explicit about the reasons. And where we saw a shift is when we asked people, what do you want the parties to address? And whereas the parties, to a large degree, focused on the big issues nationally, the people themselves said, in my area, I want the party that wins to address unemployment and corruption, and then thirdly, infrastructure development. So the voters were very focused on their own local issues, and I think that's what the local government should be about.
Yes,
they
absolutely.
also had lots of critique on other parties. I'm not saying they only criticized the ANC.
Yeah.
They, for instance, said the DA talks a lot, but they do very little.
My last question to you. There was some chaos today at the IEC in Johannesburg. It seems to be under control, but the concern is around the credibility. How does that affect the credibility of results in Johannesburg?
If that happened in a faraway area where there are not a lot of observers or a lot of party observers and independent observers, I would have been very worried. But almost fortunately, it happened in Johannesburg where those observers are present, where there are observers of all the different parties. And if the worst comes to the worst, they will recount. So I am not too worried about the credibility of the Joburg results.